Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. This is going to be our episode 87. Unfortunately, me and Jay had a little bit of scheduling conflict with me on vacation, some bad snowstorms. We weren't able to get together at our regular scheduled time. So this is going to wind up being an episode that is far less of a conducted orchestra and far more of freeform jazz. It's just really me and Jay stream of conscious, just kind of talking through our week, what we watched, and then just running down a few news stories that we really enjoyed and just really wanted to jump in and talk about. So, it's not going to be our normal regular, segments and stuff like that. There is no trailer park. There's no movie homework and stuff like that. We will, be going back to our regular scheduled programming very soon, but I just wanted to give this little forward just in case you are expecting that type of polish that we normally do. This time around, we just really didn't have the time.
You don't need polish. You just need raw, uncut Dave and Jay. Enjoy.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
This is a podcast on the Podfix Network. Check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, episode 87. I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Jay.
And Jay, I was away for a little over a week, and what a nightmare it was. Because we had to leave the night of the nor'easter, which was when our plane was scheduled. So our flight was canceled. But the nor'easter was actually over. They just prematurely canceled the flight. So me and Lauren had to scramble to find flights. We're on the phone with Expedia, who I booked everything through. Zero help. They were just going to give us a flight voucher and have us take our vacation at some later date and time.
That's terrible.
That's not going to work with your with my work schedule. So then I basically waited on hold with United for as long as I possibly could. It ended up being about 3 hours, and they had two options for me. Option one was for us to leave on Monday. Not an option, because we already had everything booked that was non-refundable for Disneyland, so we couldn't do that. The other option was for Lauren to fly out of LaGuardia in New York and for me to fly out of Newark, New Jersey. So separate flights, leaving at separate times. I would have arrived in LA at like noon, and she would have arrived at like 3 p.m. And that was their...
Which is doable, but still a big inconvenience.
It was huge inconvenience.
I mean, come on.
Then, so as the guy is booking it, like 0 hour, amazingly, he's like, I can get you both from Newark. And I was like, yeah? He's like, yeah, same flight. He's like, you guys will never sit near each other on the planes there or back, but you will
be on the same plane.
You'll be on the same flight. So we had to get, at 3:00 in the morning, we had to get an Uber to take us up to Newark, New Jersey to fly out of Newark International. Then we flew to, this is the best part, we flew to Bozeman, Montana. Right? Everyone's like, where's Bozeman, Montana? It's right outside of Yellowstone National Park, and it's actually only people really
Is that the main airport?
Yeah, people really only fly there. There's only 6 gates, and the airport's made of wood. That's where my layover was. So literally, like, I sent Jay pictures, and I put some of them up on
beautiful
on the Podfix Instagram. Yeah, it's picturesque.
Yeah.
Like, you're literally like in the terminal, and you look out a window, and there's just a fucking mountain. Just
I think Harrison Ford lives out there,
like an honest to god fucking mountain, like with snow on top and shit.
I know.
And planes are like landing, and it was freezing as fuck. And but it was the first taste of beer that I got to have, because there was this one little like corner store, like in one store. So there was one store in the entire place. There was a Montana store that had like all just Montana shit, a lot of bear stuff, a lot of dead animals, very creepy.
Wow.
But then like the other store was just kind of like this corner store, like and
a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and there's this hippie girl working there, and they had beer, and it was like $7 for a beer. So me and Lauren were like, oh, you know what? I got to review 12 beers for
start early,
right, for our Untapped app. So I started reviewing beers right then and there, and was very interesting because that was when we saw your first doppelganger.
Yes, and it really is. I'll tell
Right,
you.
yeah. So it's a guy who's wearing a black bubble jacket.
The one I usually wear.
Yeah, like, and he had tight, he had tight dark blue jeans on, and he was wearing the same type of shoes that like Jay always wears, kind of like those brown boots with like a little bit of like a pointed tip, but not like terribly pointed, not elf shoes, but you know, he was dressed just like you,
tall and lanky, dark hair. Yeah, I mean,
I don't think he was as tall as you because I tried to get Lauren to stand.
It's doubtful. Yeah,
We tried to get Lauren to stand next to him for frames of reference. Would you get to the end of the pulpit, please? I need something in the foreground for a reference. Foreground my ass! I did creepily snap pictures of that gentleman, and I sent them to you.
that was funny.
But that was not the first Jay doppelganger that we saw. But we did review 2 beers there in the terminal. Then we took our extremely tiny flight from Bozeman, Montana to Los Angeles International. Got our rental. Everything went off without a hitch. We made it to LA. We checked into our hotel. We took like an hour-long nap, and then we met up with Justin and Chrissy, and we had a blast going out with them. They are definitely like, my family on the West Coast now. Like, they are so much fun to hang out with. It was a lot of fun, had some good Mexican food, and then
awesome.
Went to bed, and woke up the next day and drove to Disneyland.
What other way are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Right?
And then that's when
great.
we saw your second doppelganger. As we're walking into Disneyland the one day, we look, and there's this guy who's walking with his kids, and he was as tall as you were.
He looked taller in the photo.
He was as tall as you are.
Yeah.
And like from behind, I was like, look, it's Jay again. And she's like, oh my God, it looks just like Jay from behind. And I was like, that's Dad Jay. The other guy was Ski Jay. This is Dad Jay. It's like
different versions of me out
we
there
were
in the
like,
world.
we were like just passing through these dimensions where alternate versions of you existed. But Disney was a blast, man.
It's got to be a lot different than Disney World. I've never been to land before. I go to LA semi-often. I have a lot of family in the area, but I've never gotten to Disneyland because, I just didn't really care to.
It's a whole lot smaller, obviously.
Sure.
But, like, even the streets feel like more narrow. And, like, there was just so many people there. We went on a Sunday, and they had like extended magic hours, which was really nice because but
they're still expanding the park, right?
Right now they're building the Star Wars like land. They're building that somewhere off in the distance. You could see the cranes and stuff moving. So they are expanding and giving Star Wars its own land. I got to go on Star Tours, which it's a ride I've gotten to go on before, but this time it was different because I got to do, as you do it, You always take off from like some central location and stuff like that. But when I did it in Disney World, we were attacked by Darth Vader and stormtroopers. This time we were attacked by Kylo Ren and the First Order. And then it took
That's pretty cool.
It took us to Jakku, and then it takes you to Crate at the end, the planet where it's salt on top and then the red
right
the red minerals underneath. So it was a lot of fun, but because you're not staying in the park, because you're only there for like 2 days. You don't get to do like everything like you would like if you're at Disney World, where you get to schedule it out and stuff like that. So it felt a whole lot more rushed. Like our whole experience is like very rushed. We only stopped to like eat, but we did have a fantastic dinner at this place called Catal, which was like amazing food. Lauren got this braised pork belly that was like melted in your fucking mouth. It was so good. And
awesome. And
I got steelhead trout, and it was fucking fantastic. Like,
that's great.
And I don't even like trout, but the guy, like, it was the special of the day, and the guy's like, trust me, if you are a seafood fan, he's like, get it. Just get it. And I was like, all right, fair enough. I'll get it.
Sold.
So it was fantastic. I had a lot of drinks, a lot of drinks there at Catal. And they made fantastic fucking cocktails. I was actually talking to the waiter a little bit about movie cocktails.
And this was on Disney.
This was in downtown Disney. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is like on one side you have California Adventure. On the other side you have Disneyland. In between the two you have downtown Disney, which you don't have to pay to get into downtown Disney. You just have to get through security check, and then you go in there and do shopping and stuff like that. But Yeah, and then California Adventure was just kind of that was kind of the down point of being at Disney. Not a whole lot of rides, not a whole lot to do, and then we drove to Bakersfield after that and got to meet up with our lovely podfather, the head of the Podfix network, Chris Brayton from the More Gooder Than podcast.
Fantastic.
And him and his entire family are just the nicest fucking people in the entire world. Like literally, you may think you've met a nicer person in the world. And if you haven't met Chris Brayton, then you haven't met the nicest person in the world. He is just the absolute nicest person in the world. And his daughters are so well behaved. I wanted to come home and slap Logan. That's just for not being better.
She's gonna be listening to this podcast episode one day.
Obviously in jest. I wouldn't slap my child, but my child has so much sass, it's hilarious, but sometimes that comes with a price of attitude too.
It's the loving personality that she has.
So we just had a great time with them, hanging out. Got to meet Corey from his podcast. I got to make them cocktails. I made an original cocktail for them for Christmas, and they hadn't gotten to make it yet. So I got to make it for Chris and his wife. It's the Well of Souls whiskey sour, where we use I can't really say the ingredients because it's a present, so it's only for them to use. So, but it's an Indiana Jones drink since Indiana Jones is their favorite, and I made them Philly cheesesteaks as best I could.
Cool.
They did not have thin cut ribeye out there. They obviously didn't have Amoroso rolls, and we had to substitute like Cheese Whiz for like a different type of like liquid cheese. But I got it as close as I possibly could.
Were you satisfied enough, at least?
Yeah.
What did they think?
They enjoyed it,
Yeah.
Enjoyed it. I don't think they loved it, but they enjoyed it. And I told them like this, it's you just gotta come on.
Yeah.
You just gotta. I got really thin.
And then the argument continues as far as which is the best cheesesteak in Philadelphia, because everybody has their own little opinions.
I'll say this, Dave's was the best cheesesteak that was in Bakersfield that night.
No question. I guarantee that.
It was the best cheesesteak.
West Coast can do Mexican food and maybe some sushi, but no, definitely nothing else, really.
Yeah, and all of that I had plenty of while I was out there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I had some huevos rancheros when I was in Disney too. Whew.
Did you have a tequila night?
I did not. No,
okay.
no. I mean, I did do like mojito the one night. I did.
A good mojito goes a long way.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a mojito, and then what else did I have? I mean, I had a couple like go-to. I had a mint julep.
Oh man!
Right outside of Pirates of the Caribbean, they were selling mint juleps in Disney, and I was like, yes, I will have one. I will go get myself a mint julep. I didn't have a white cane or like a white hat. I wish I did.
How was the weather out there?
I do declare. Cold as shit the first night we were there. 30 degrees first night we were there.
What?
Fucking right, in LA. 30 fucking degrees.
They must have been losing their shit.
Me and Lauren did not bring, like, Justin picked us up. He was in a peat coat and he had the heat blasting in his car. And I didn't have a jacket. Like, I didn't bring anything heavy. I brought like a hoodie. That's all I had.
Right.
Oh, it was bad. We did go to a small beach town in California, and if you've seen Finding Dory, then you've heard of the town. It's Morro Bay, which is like kind of like north of LA a bit, about 2 hours north of LA. And really, what we did was we just took in the wildlife, man. Just otters, sea lions fighting each other.
You sent me some cool videos.
Yeah. And then there's also
so many
elephant seals just fucking on the beach, just all over the place. I mean,
what else are you gonna do, right?
I mean, technically, the elephant seals were post-coital, but
if you're not eating or sleeping, you might as well just fuck.
Yeah, that's literally all they do. But that was nice. We had lunch at a restaurant there. We were originally going to go to a place that was called the Libertine, which was like a small micro pub. And we walked in, and the EMTs were working on somebody, so everyone felt uncomfortable and left. And I was like, all
the more reason to stay there,
right? And for me, I was like, I can watch. If I'm having good beer, I can watch a guy die. Like if he expired,
it's called the Libertine, for Christ's sake, right?
Liberate him, get him out. Yeah, if he expired while I was sitting right there, I wouldn't have batted an eye. I would have kept. And I was like, oh man, this is the difference between East Coast people and West Coast people. They felt uncomfortable,
and we'd be like, yes.
They could have dragged his dead body out and been like, your seats are ready, and I'd be like, okay.
That's the Philly in us. There.
Sure. They don't even need to wipe it down. Did his body shit himself yet? No, we're all good here. Yeah. I'll sit down. Getting home was less of a nightmare. It was just long. It just felt long. Like
usually it goes by quickly. You know, like when you're 5 hours.
You know when your vacation's over and you just want to be.
Yeah.
When it's done.
Well, I picked you guys up at the airport, and naturally, like everybody after a trip like that, you're coming down off a big high.
Lauren got to sleep her fucking 5 hours on the plane. I didn't sleep at all because my way back, I was stuck in the middle between fat businessman number 1 and snoring businessman number 2 over there, and then the fucking old bastard who put his chair all the way back. And I was so uncomfortable. I was boxed in and I was starting to feel like a little bit claustrophobic. And I was occasionally, when I was getting something out of my bag, like a comic book.
I'd walk off that plane. I wouldn't be able to do that.
No, it was all fine until the flight started. And then they started relaxing and everyone just started spreading. And so, like, as I'm on the plane, like getting my comic book out or getting my video game thing out to play or something like that, I guess I was bumping the guy in front of me when I was doing that because he had his fucking seat reclined all the way back, and
it's impossible to avoid.
Right. So he gets the stewardess, and she comes over, and he's like, I could hear him clear as day, ma'am. He's bumping me behind me, and she's like, okay, and she's like, maybe if you put your seat up a little bit, it would give him more room, and we wouldn't have this problem. And he goes, nah, I'm fine, and tried to go back to sleep. So I kept watching him, waiting for that moment that you see the head nod, like go down, and I fucking rammed the seat as hard as I could. I made sure that if he's going to make me uncomfortable, I'm going to make him just as uncomfortable.
Good on you.
To his credit, he did not move the seat up one fucking iota. So we were like at a stalemate. I was uncomfortable. He was uncomfortable. Let's keep playing this game.
Still a dick.
Yeah, let's keep playing this game.
Yeah.
And then we for some reason had the stupidest layover I've ever had or ever even heard of. We landed in DC and had to fly a half hour from DC to Philadelphia. So stupid.
Was that scheduled?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really weird. I never heard of that.
Yeah.
It's so small.
We landed in DC, waited an hour, got on a plane took off, landed. Within a half an hour of me and Lauren taking our seat, we were already on the tarmac and getting our baggage off of the plane. It's like such a minuscule ride.
Wow.
But in the end, we had a blast. I wish... I'm very happy that we went and we got to meet our Podfix friends like in person and stuff like that. That was great. I'm paying for it now. I am so busy at work right now from being away. I like vacation already feels like a distant memory. Like it didn't happen.
I'm sure
we didn't.
Yeah. I mean that's the struggle sometimes with certain positions and jobs like you do. They royally punish you when you come back. And yeah, I'm sure it was great when you were away, It was. Just time away from everything here. But, oh boy, they just let things just ride and sit and pile up until you got back and you're like, here you go, deal with this shit. I told
Lauren, I was like, from now on, I don't want to take full week-long vacations. I just want to take like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Like that's it. Take 2 days off, and that's what I'd like to do.
Much more manageable, yeah.
Yeah, from now on, because I'm just tired of like coming back from like a week long vacation and then just immediately getting fucked for it, and it's like I don't want to do this anymore. All right, Jay. So while I was away for a week, what the fuck were you up to, man?
I was house sitting your house.
Yeah, that's true. You rode out 2 storms in my house. How was that?
I know. Well, the first nor'easter really wasn't that bad. That was nothing compared to the ones we got afterwards. The week or two after.
Consecutively, Tuesday into Wednesday, and then like all throughout Wednesday. Like it was actually 2 storms on top of each other.
Yeah. And different kinds of effects that really affected the whole area. As far as like wind was the first one.
Oh yeah. My mom sent me photos of lightning, like at night while it's snowing. There's thunder and lightning because it's like snow and rain and heavy winds.
It was nuts.
And then the next day, just the heaviest, like the heaviest, wettest snow. Like
big time.
It looked like the heavens just jerked off all over southeastern Pennsylvania.
All at once.
Yeah.
All at once. And it didn't go away. Yeah. It just stood there and stayed there.
And he was celibate for some time. Like, let me tell you, there was buckets.
Yeah. And, so we had power outages. You guys were out for a couple of days. I was out for about 12 hours, but there was people without power in the area. for a good long time, multiple days, and sometimes longer than a week, and it was just really shitty. I mean, it was a bad situation. We haven't had anything like that in a while, but I just never seen so much tree trouble. All over the place in the area in so long. I mean, it's really something.
My neighbor's tree fell down on top of his 3 cars, right across 3 cars in his driveway. Bang, bang, bang. I was like, oh, I'll see you in a couple days.
Oh, my God.
My tree, some branches came down.
You got lucky.
Yeah, well, I was lucky, and so I had to go out and buy a chainsaw, and then me and my dad are climbing my tree. I'm climbing my tree, holding this chainsaw. You
did it already?
Yeah, I did it already. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm not afraid of heights, but when you're standing like on a branch and and you looked at, I'm not like afraid of heights, but I was
that kind of heights I'm afraid of.
I'm afraid of falling. Like, I'm not afraid of the heights. I'm afraid of falling. All right. I'm not a spry young man anymore.
That's essentially what it means, Dave.
Climbing a tree is not meant for me anymore. And then you're climbing it with a 9-foot pole with another like 6-foot extension on it. And I bought a pole saw. So it's a chainsaw on the end of a pole.
Right.
So I'm like holding it out like this fishing line, and I'm hooking the branch that I want to cut off, and then I'm cutting it off, and then the branch doesn't fall. And I'm like, well, what do I do? My dad's like, push it. And I'm like, if I push it and I push out, I'm going to fall. And he's like, nah, you won't. You'll be good. He's already 20 feet in the air. What do you care?
My dad would say the same thing. He's like, come on, man up.
Nah. My dad was very encouraging and didn't want me to die.
That's good.
Don't die, Dave. I won't, Dad. Not while you're there.
But no, I was just hanging low. I've been working. I've been just gearing up for my week off. It's my birthday next week, so I'm just kind of taking a week off and time away from work.
Jay's 45 this week.
34. I'll be 34. Come
34. On. All right, 34, 35.
Spry 34.
Certainly spry, yes.
But
spry and celibate.
Yes. So, I just haven't really done too many things other than watch a bunch of movies, and I was just house sitting, hanging out in your place, and dealing with the storms, and just kind of, I don't know, every day would just seem like a busy day, like you just have something else to do.
So what did you watch in the theater here?
In the theater, I saw Blade Runner 2049.
How was it in the theater? With the sound, you used the headphones, obviously.
Yes, it was really, really cool. Yeah. Oh man, I felt like I was in the theater again. It was really, really awesome.
Nice and dark and super. You can get as loud as you want. You can have a beer.
A great revisit.
Yeah.
So I was really excited to see that, and I was actually going to put on War, but the storm happened. So that was the night that the storm happened, and I had to, reshuffle my viewing pleasures. But I watched Moon, the sam Rockwell film, and that was fun with Duncan Jones, and I could not get through Mute again. I gave it another try, another Duncan Jones film, and I still have not finished that movie.
I couldn't get through Mute either.
I still can't get through it. So I give up. I give up.
That's 2 things that I was pretty highly excited for on Netflix that I couldn't get through: Mute and Altered Carbon.
I was devastated. That took me. Us too. I mean, I don't know what it is. Some people really love it out there.
Really?
But some.
Dude, I think Netflix is having
but not many.
Pretty shitty 2018 so far.
So far they are.
Yeah.
And they have so much content coming out this year. It's daunting.
It's pretty bad when you're saying, hey, in 2018, the best thing they have is Cloverfield Paradox, and that's mediocre at best.
Yes, you're right. But the thing is, we have so much content out there. We don't have enough time to watch it all. And there's things that I would want to watch, but it's hard to pick and choose which ones, and you have to use your time wisely. So if it's not grabbing you and you're not into it, just like, Mute or Ultra Carbon, we should not subject ourselves to continue on and force ourselves to watch it if we're not enjoying it.
Well, then, Jay, why am I 6 episodes into Jessica Jones and still watching it then? Because I'm finding it to be one of the most boring seasons. It's not, now don't get me wrong, it's not Iron Fist bad.
Okay.
But it's up there.
Stale?
It's very stale. And I just find it to be...
I feel like after all this time off...
2.5 years.
You would think they would have something strong.
So I thought 2.5 years, and they come back, and it's not strong. The villain doesn't feel strong. I really think that David Tennant was what carried that show on its back the first season. I think David Tennant was the absolute best. Because there's only so much snarky Jess Jones I can take, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to see the character progress in some way. And I thought, like, after her defeat over, I don't mean that, like, that she still isn't emotionally scarred from what happened with her and Purple Man, but I thought, like, maybe after his death and especially after Defenders, after saving the city and after being exalted by the city as a hero and stuff like that. I mean, they do get into some people still the distrust of superheroes, but
you know what the thing is with that character as well, too? I feel like she's been becoming a little bit more of the same through line. Right. She doesn't change her personality very much. It's very like the same beat. Her kind of character should be going yo-yoing around. Like, she should have an episode where she just gets really pissed off and goes on a bender and gets drunk and just does stupid shit.
No, that's every day. She's just drunk in every episode. They have to have her swilling alcohol.
But she's not.
And that's okay, because that's a character trait.
But she's not erratic with it. Like, her behavior doesn't alter or change that much.
I just feel like the character has not progressed since season 1 whatsoever, and the Defenders. Like, there's been no progression with it whatsoever. The characters around her have changed quite a bit. Malcolm has obviously, he's no longer a drug addict, and he's doing better, but he's also falling into some of the same pitfalls that Jessica is with using sex as a tool for making yourself feel better, or, like, he's switched one addiction to for another.
Well, why not?
Patsy. I can't stand her character this year, let me tell you. But anyway, I will finish that series. It's just one of it's the first Marvel series that I didn't sit down and finish in one weekend. And it was hard doing that for Iron Fist. I think it's even harder doing that for this one.
Because you're a fan. And Lauren is as well, and you guys want to get into it and watch it.
I think Lauren's enjoying it a far bit more than I am. She's far less critical than I am when it comes to stuff like that. I expect, especially if it took 2.5 years off, I kind of expect, not greatness, but
solid.
Yeah, real solid work.
Minimum should be solid, right?
Not getting it.
Okay. So. Well, either way, I will still give it a go. I'm just only watching Homeland still as far as TV series go, but the movies, I've been to the movie theater a bit, and I saw Red Sparrow, Jennifer Lawrence's latest film.
Jay was so excited when he saw Red Sparrow. He's like, you gotta see it. He's like, Jennifer Lawrence nude. And I was like, dude, you are any minute of your life with us, with the tiny pocket computer that is a cell phone that you hold, you are minutes away, just seconds away from Jennifer Lawrence nude. Just literally Google Jennifer Lawrence nude. Whoa. You will see, dude, there's one where she's spreading her ass cheeks and you can see her butthole.
Like, wow. Yeah, that's true.
But you were like so excited. You're like, getting to see Jennifer Lawrence nude. And it's like, here's the difference. You're getting to see her nude on her terms now.
Right. And it's very much on her terms. Yeah. And that's the funny thing about how they portray it in the movie. It's not gratuitous at all.
I'll be honest.
It's a very bleak movie.
I've never liked like celebrity leaked nudes or anything. It's never anything that's like, oh my God, this celebrity has a leaked nude. Let me go check it out. Because 9 times out of 10, they it's wrong. They don't want that out there.
Of course, who does? Nobody does.
Right. Exactly. So it's like, it kind of feels wrong and dirty when you look at them. But when you go watch Red Sparrow, it's on her terms. It feels right.
And she does.
And the lighting is right. And the makeup's right.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, this is a very bleak movie, and the way it's shot, it's very bleak, and it's raw, and it's the worst part about this movie is the length. This is a long 2-hour, 20-minute movie, and it's an old school kind of like spy espionage film of sorts, and it deals with different kind of themes throughout. And it's not as clever as it thinks it is, but the performances are all strong. So there's things to enjoy in this movie, but there's also some things that are just very banal. Nothing special.
I wasn't interested in it because to me it looked like the dour Atomic Blonde. Like, it just looked like the Atomic Blonde that takes itself really seriously.
Well, and I'm fine with that if it's a really good movie, but it's not a really good movie, and it's an all right movie. It's nothing that great.
Is it Soderbergh?
Francis Lawrence.
Okay.
Yeah,
her dad.
So she. Well,
her dad videoed her nude.
Might as well be. I mean, he's the one that directed the Hunger Games movies, so they formed a trust.
I wasn't interested in it, and it's definitely one of those ones that it's like Netflix, HBO. Sure, I'll watch it then. In the meantime, I'm not spending hard-earned money on going out there to see that.
And then, other than that, I saw this little indie film called Thoroughbreds. This movie revolves around,
which is all about chicks with horses.
This is literally a play on screen, and it's ironically written and directed by a screenwriter, a playwright.
Okay.
So this guy is young now. He's 28 years old.
All right, so guys with horses, whatever, Jay, whatever you're into.
Well, this
is a safe place. You can talk about your fetishes here.
This one girl, it's so weird. This one girl has like no feelings whatsoever, and this other girl has a lot of different kind of feelings, and they're two young starlets, and they do a good job acting, but it's just so, again, dull. And the way it's shot, it's just, you didn't care about anything. And they're just trying to like plot this killing of this stepfather who's an asshole, but he's not even that much of an asshole worthy of killing. It was like the weirdest thing ever. Like, I just didn't get it. And it was very disappointing because I thought it was going to be a little bit more poppy. And
if he was played by
modern.
Willem Dafoe, you would have wanted to kill him.
That would have been cooler.
Right?
Definitely. Or a wild bonkers like Christopher Walken, like an old like grandfather, he's just like a piece of shit.
Speaking of Willem Dafoe, he was nominated and didn't win. He lost to Sam Rockwell in the Oscars, which I was actually extremely happy about. I feel like it's Sam Rockwell's time. It
is his time. He's long overdue. He is. He's a well-respected.
Just speaking of you watching Moon and then that performance that he did.
He's a great actor. He is, and he's done a lot of really cool.
His speech wasn't strong, but I liked it. And he's just like when he talked about his dad taking him to the theaters and faking the grandmother's death. It's Grandma. What's wrong with Grandma? Nothing. I just wanted to go to the movies.
It's him. I mean, speak your truth, man. If that's how you feel, as far as like your history with getting into the movies. Hey,
the best speech of the Oscars, Frances McDermott.
She scared me, dude.
You thought she was going to blow up the place, didn't you?
Scary.
When she was like, "It's time!" Boom!
Oh my God.
I got all the powerful men in Hollywood here, and you're all going down.
Your face. Oh my God. If you guys could see Dave's face, it's uncanny. It's uncanny. It's just like hers.
It looks just like her.
Oh,
it's just not a compliment to her or me.
No, neither. Avoid those characters or those people at all costs. Yes.
Ultimately, I thought the Oscars was the worst Oscars in a long time.
It really was. And then because there's no movie that was nominated that people had an uber passion about.
Get Out.
Yes, that one.
The younger generation was all crying "Get Out."
But the variables was it was so old. It came out last spring,
No, what it is,
and it is beloved. But
the younger generation was all crying "Get Out," and the old heads looked down and whispered, "No."
Exactly. Not yet.
We'll give it original screenplay. Be happy with that.
Yes.
But I think the biggest travesty of the Oscars, and I think I talked about this on the show, was the fact that War for the Planet of the Apes was nominated for special effects, didn't win. Blade
Runner took that prize, and
but Blade Runner won cinematography.
Yes, it was great, but it did not deserve it over War.
No, it didn't. It got cinematography, and that's what was fantastic about that movie, not the special effects.
Yes,
I didn't think it should have won cinematography and special effects.
Completely agree.
Special effects goes to it could have went to Star Wars too, but here's the thing: it's Star Wars. You expect great special effects, and so much of what's going on in Star Wars, it's not in the real world. So putting what happens in War for the Planet of the Apes in real world settings where the only thing that is special effects really is that, to me, I'm like, that is a fucking achievement.
And being the third movie of the trilogy.
Fucking achievement. And the fact that it wasn't even nominated for best film. I mean, Rise of the Planet of the Apes wasn't nominated for best film either. And in my mind, in the past 10 years, that is one of the strongest franchises to come out of Hollywood in the past 10 years or so. And and it got nothing for it.
The Before trilogy and this trilogy are my two favorite trilogies of the last 20 years. Andy Serkis
didn't get a nomination for it, it is just fucking beyond me. It's like, and that's when I looked at it, I'm like, they are out of touch. They really are. It's like, these things are happening around them in Hollywood.
Because the studio heads did not give it the proper push, which you have to do in award season, is to market and campaign for it.
I look at how the Oscars is run and stuff like that, and I look at Hollywood and I realize what some of the great films that came out this year and last year were doing.
This is a big back step for
beyond. It's beyond in 10, 15 years, that stuff will be winning Oscars and stuff because it'll become the norm. But because these are trailblazers now, it doesn't really get the nods that it should.
Yes, but at the same time, if they keep delivering quality movies like that, they definitely will start happening. I really thought it was going to begin with this year, with War. And even a sneak appearance by something else, perhaps.
You'd think,
I don't know what it is. I'm not exactly sure.
Get Out being nominated was like a step in the right direction, but I also feel like
it's going to happen, though, Dave. Like as those older guys just die out in the Academy,
I think so,
and they keep bringing in all the new blood and Hollywood and stuff like that, and diversify. It's going to happen, and it's inevitable.
Is this the last time that we see Jimmy Kimmel doing the Oscars?
It has nothing to do with Jimmy. I think Jimmy's fine.
I think he's funny.
I think he's perfectly solid as a host. It's hard to find the right host.
People like him. Like I like him. When I say people,
I like him.
I say people, I don't mean me and you or the audience. I mean celebrities like him. And that's important.
That is important.
Because when he says, hey, who wants to throw their hands up and come with me come walk with me and we'll go meet some people who just watched a screening of this film. And like Gal Gadot's like, me. Like automatically, like people like him, and I like that. But
he has a little spontaneous.
I feel like I feel like the Oscars is kind of held back by being on ABC. I feel like ABC kind of like holds it back. And can we put it up earlier? That didn't end until 12:30. Now I got lucky.
Oh, that was rough. I know.
I got to catch it at like 5:00 when it started in California. But
I've been in LA before during Oscar night. It's weird.
5 to 8:30. Let's go have drinks. In the United States,
certain
it's
roads
like,
are shut down.
If I really want to watch it, should I call out of work the next day? Is this like is this post Super Bowl? Like,
So also in theater, I saw Game Night, and you saw it as well.
I saw Game Night as well,
and I loved it.
Highly enjoyed it.
I really was pleasantly surprised. Big time.
Haven't really enjoyed a comedy like that since like Neighbors. Neighbors
so long.
Neighbors 1. Really.
I feel like it was so long since I've seen something like through and through. Most of the comedy all hit for me.
I think of like these like temple comedies.
It's up there for me. I mean, it's definitely up there for me. And it is kind of far fetched, but it walked the line with the violence and the mystery and like
Kyle Chandler
comedy.
Throwing a punch and taking hits. I was watching. I was like, fuck, God, he's sexy,
right? God, love him.
He's my Hollywood spirit animal because motherfucker is sexy as shit. And he rocks the gut too. Like he's just got a gut and
he's
rocks.
got the baggy eyes. Like he's weathered. He can clean
he's like
up
if young Stallone let himself go.
Right. Exactly. He can play it clean, but he can also play it real down and dirty.
I'd let him into my marital bed, sure. I'd watch.
Can I record, Kyle? No, I'll just take a mental note.
No, take a mental note. No, I really enjoyed Game Night. I thought a lot of it was pretty original. I mean, it didn't stray too far from the pack that it was like, that not everybody could get it. But what I mean is, it was just it did a lot of like fun things in it, and
some surprise things, but also with all the. It's an ensemble movie, really. And honestly,
Amy Adams hasn't.
No, it's Rachel McAdams.
And Rachel McAdams hasn't really done like a comedy, like a straight comedy like that in a little while.
I mean, I can't remember the last one, but she's great in it. And Bateman is Bateman. He's great. This is right up. Everybody's right up their wheelhouse as far as an actor. Even Jesse Plemons playing like the straight cop, like the awkward. Just his comedy just works on a whole different kind of playing field than the other like actors in the movie, and it works so well. It's so funny.
Do you need to see it in the theaters? No,
but definitely watch it.
You definitely need to see it. Yeah. I would say as far as comedy goes, it gets a strong. As far as comedies go,
it's a great date night movie.
It gets a strong A as far as comedy goes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I hate to do that. I hate to be like, well, it's a comedy, so like I guess. But when you're watching a comedy, you're not looking at things like does it make you laugh? Like can you have a couple gut busting laughs while watching it? It absolutely does that.
It does.
So I loved it.
I appreciated that.
But for me, I definitely did a lot of like stay at home watching stuff once we got back from our trip. I just wanted to relax at home. So I watched a French Canadian zombie film called Ravenous, which I actually think, Jay, you would enjoy that. Like I think you would enjoy it because it's very like it's very picturesque. Like it's very like the cinematography in it is actually beautiful. And one of the stars in it is Marc-Andre Grodin. Name probably doesn't sound familiar, but you may know him better as Xavier Laflamme from Goon and Goon 2.
Oh.
French Canadian motherfucker. And I actually really enjoyed him in this role. Like, I really enjoyed it because I like him in the straight man role that he plays in the Goon and stuff like that, but I really liked him in this as like this kind of like almost like weak, vulnerable guy in this zombie apocalypse type situation, finding his strength and stuff like that. The zombies were treated in a far different way than I've ever seen them treated before. And it was so weird because it had so many gory moments, but sometimes it chose not to show the gore. Sometimes it showed gore, sometimes it chose not to show it. And it was very strange, like at times when they chose for it to be like shocking and gory, and other times when they chose for it to be, a little bit more, I guess, lack of a better word, tasteful. But I actually wound up really enjoying it. Now, it is French Canadian, so it is subtitled. You are reading it. I know you don't mind that. I'm just letting people know at home that if you want to watch it. But I thought it was pretty decent. It is streaming on Netflix, and I enjoyed a lot of the time.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Then one of the other films I watched was another subtitled horror film that me and Lauren watched together. And this is a horror film that has been getting a lot of hype. Like the way it was being hyped up was that it was like the new Record. Like Record was that movie that was shot almost entirely in night vision. It took place in Madrid, and they were in an apartment complex. It was another like zombie type
I
thing.
don't remember this.
Super rabies is like taking over people, and it's a news crew that was following a fire crew as they go in to deal with this super rabies outbreak, but which they didn't know it was that at the time. And then it just kind of like follows that, and that all unfolds. And that film was hailed as one of the best horror movies of in the time that it came out. And that's Veronica is the film I watched on Netflix. It's another Spanish horror film. It's getting a lot of praise. A lot of people really love it. And I feel like I got hyped up on it. So many people told me it was good and you really got to see it, that by the time I saw it, I found it as just another boring ghost movie. Like, was it good? Yeah. Was it amazing? No. It was not the amazing
original.
What, Veronica?
Yeah,
it's original. Oh, is it Netflix?
I mean,
original?
does it like feel? No, I mean, I'm not talking about. I'm just talking like, does it feel like something different? Something original? Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It felt like a more art house Ouija, a more art house Ouija. Like that's what it felt like, and it had some really cool horror elements in it, but like in the end, it wound up being extremely predictable, and it was just not what people were touting it as to be. And I think the people who discovered it on their own, were surprised at how good it was. And then because they've touted it so much, by the time I saw it, I was like, it's just another possession film. It's just another,
Okay.
It's just, is it worth your time? Yeah, sure. It's on Netflix. Why not? Kill a couple hours, watch that shit. But am I gonna sing its praises? Not really. Not a whole lot. I didn't hate watching it, but I really didn't get out of it what other people were saying.
1 out of 2.
Yeah, 1 out of 2. 1 out of 2. And me and Lauren rewatched The Descent because she had never seen it. And then I watched The Descent.
About damn time.
And then I watched The Descent.
Did she like it though, at least?
Yeah, she really enjoyed it. She didn't
good.
watch The Descent too, and I think I'll spare her that.
Oh, don't.
Because it's awful.
It's awful.
And then finally, Jay, I watched a film that you really enjoyed last year, Wind River.
Yes.
Which I thought was, when you described it last year, I had some problems with it, with the way you were describing it and stuff like that. And I realized when watching it, they actually explained away a lot of my problems that I had with it. Like, I remember I had a big complaint for when you were describing it. I was like, oh, they wouldn't just send one single FBI agent out there to do that and do this and stuff. But they explained it. It's because the murder she was investigating wasn't listed as a murder.
Right.
So that's one of the things. And I really just enjoyed the investigation and stuff like that. But then I really enjoyed like the ending. Like the ending was phenomenal. I really like the.
It really is.
I really enjoyed the undertones of life as a Native American or on an Indian reservation, and
the reality of it, too.
Right? Yeah, reality and how tribal police works and like all this stuff, and also how powerful something like a large corporation and their security force really can be to a small group of people. And I actually found myself,
especially in this kind of environment,
right,
in rural Montana. Yeah, Montana. I mean,
but what I really enjoyed was I really enjoyed the tone of the film, because one of the things was it was so bleak, right? And obviously, given the subject matter of a dead young woman, along with the troubles that Jeremy Renner's character is going through with his own family, and the previous trouble he had losing a daughter himself. It was very bleak, and obviously life on an Indian reservation is probably pretty bleak.
Especially this day and age.
Yeah. So, none of them were living off the revenues of a casino or anything like that. It just, right, they were just so far north. There was nothing. Like, they even make a joke where it's just like, you guys did get the memo that spring came like 3 weeks ago, right? Like, cause it was still freezing cold, negative like 17 degrees out. But one of the things that I really liked about that bleakness of the film was that it stood in stark contrast to when shit started going down. Like,
it's a character almost, right?
But it was like this steady freight train of bleak conversations and investigating, and you never really got like a gruesome image. And then all of a sudden, like, this gunfight happens and everything just quick, the tempo just fires and rockets straight up to 11. And then it comes back down for the finale and stuff like that. But it just felt so natural the way it happened, the way it all came to a head. I really wound up enjoying it a lot. So now that it's on Netflix, I can definitely say it's worth anybody's time who didn't get a chance to watch
absolutely.
Wind River last year.
It's another one of those movies that I'm really looking forward to seeing again. It was one of those things that I wanted to sing its praises, but I knew it was a hard movie for me to explain without spoiling, because it's a mood piece. It's not something that everyone's gonna love, but it's a really good movie. It's one of those things where, like, if you have the time and you're in that headspace, it's worth going down that path. And I'm happy you really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. All right, Jay, do you want to review some beers, man?
I do, man.
Yeah, let's get into some beers. One of the things that I wanted to do this week was I really wanted to be reviewing the Jason Kelsey beer that was brewed by our friends at Broken Goblet.
Yes.
Here's the problem. At 10:30, they didn't open the doors until noon to start selling it. At 10:30 in the morning, there was already over 200 people in line. By the time the doors opened at noon, there was 500 people in line. And I had my child, and Lauren was,
and I think at one point they got close to 1,000 people.
It was just impossible to get there. It would have been, I never would have gotten it. And unfortunately, I'm not going to get it now, because it wasn't something that they were, that it was bottled or canned or anything. What they did was they had 2 kegs of it. One was to serve to people there in a glass, and the other one was to fill up crowlers of, and then slap the label on it and sell it that way. And Jason Kelsey was actually there, with former Eagle Connor Barwin.
Yep.
And they were signing cans and stuff like that. And all the proceeds of this went to Jason Kelsey's
Connor Barwin's charity,
which
Jason
Kelsey supports.
That was the only thing that he requested. He allowed them to use the logo, the phrase, for as long as they ever want, but only to have 20% of those proceeds go to that charity, which is amazing, and it's definitely something that I think they saw was a huge success. And I think if it's a good beer, which I'm sure it is, it could be really successful as far as a year-round kind of fucking beer, especially around Eagles time.
Well, they already said that because of the success this time, they will be brewing it again, and it will be coming back. So,
and when they're moving locations, they're going to be able to brew a lot more of it and actually distribute.
And we will get it, and we will review it when it comes out. But it just didn't work out this time. That I landed on Friday. Saturday morning, I would have had to been in line. I had Logan. It's not easy to get her up, dressed, and go there. It's also not easy to commit to standing outside with a 3-year-old when it's 30 degrees outside and had just snowed the day before. It's just wasn't in the cards. You were at work, so not in the cards for you. So
yeah, I got there at 3:30, 3:45, and it was practically dead. Inside the bar, there were some people. There was actually a group of guys waiting for an Uber. One guy literally was standing there and just fell.
Oh my God. Wow.
I mean, I was like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck did I miss? I mean, I couldn't believe it. The band was like on their last song. I'm like, what the hell? Like they said, like it was going to be like 1 o'clock till 11,
right?
And I'm like showing up at 3:30, and it's over.
Once I heard 500 people at the tiny place that is Broken Goblet, I didn't want my child there.
No.
You know, especially now you're telling me people fall down drunk. Unfortunately, yeah, I just wasn't gonna get it. But next time they do it, we will get it and we will review it for the show. But Jay, you have a beer that you want to review tonight because I picked it up for you.
Yes, Breckenridge Brewing. Out of Colorado. So this is a Nitro Irish Stout, and it is 4.8 alcohol by volume. And this one is a very smooth Nitro, as you would expect, but it's a really, really dry stout, and you get a good roasted, like, malt nose to it.
Yeah.
And the flavor is very bland and very mild, I feel like, the more you sip it. And it's good, it's tasty, but it doesn't have too much of a wow factor.
I can look at it and tell, like, it's black. Like, it's black.
Oh, sure.
But it is definitely not as robust as even Guinness, because Guinness has, like, that heavy, almost like orange head to it. Like, it has, like, that heavy pour. This does not. Like, this has, like, a very foamy white, like, sort of,
yeah, I would
foam to it. So, I mean,
it's something that it's a beer that I definitely respect, but it's nothing special, and it's a 3.5 for me out of 5. It's a good beer. It's just nothing special.
It's not bad. It's respectable though. So my beer is a New Belgium beer, and you might remember I reviewed, I think, all the beers in this line, the Voodoo Ranger line that they have for their IPAs, and this one is a pint can. It doesn't come in a 6-pack like the Voodoo Ranger 8-hop, the Voodoo Ranger IPA, and the Voodoo Ranger double IPA. This is the Voodoo Ranger Juicy Haze IPA. So this one obviously is more of that West Coast style IPA. It's very light, very citrusy, very hop forward, not too bitter on the back end, and is extremely juicy flavor. It's a lot like the beers that I love, like New School.
It does look delicious, man.
Yeah,
I'll tell
like
you.
Southern Tier New School IPA and our local Free Will Craggle Dank, baby. So, but it is actually, it tastes pretty phenomenal. It is 7.5% alcohol per volume, and I really like the Voodoo Ranger line. Like, and this one, I think for me
I'm really looking forward to trying that beer.
It is my favorite of the line that they've done so far. So, I'm going to be giving this a 4.25. 4.25. I really, it has like this little bit of like
little something that's not
like
giving you a 4.5.
Yeah, like right at the end. Like this very like citrusy, like extremely citrusy on the back end, and that's it's a little strange. It's just it's very
instead of dry, because usually like a dry finish.
That's right. Yeah. And, I mean, it is juicy, so it should have like that very that very thirst quenching feel to it, and it kind of does. But it's almost like the way an orange juice finishes on the back end. But I love the way it smells. I love the fucking hazy color of it. Like I do want to take it to bed. I do like it that much. All right, man. Let's since this week we're kind of doing like freeform jazz with the podcast. We're not putting as much we're not doing segment breaks and stuff like we normally do. Let's move over to some news. While I was on vacation, some news dropped. We haven't done news in a while. There's a few, not so interesting news items that we're going to discuss, but there's also a few that I find extremely interesting that I do want to discuss a little bit more. So the first news item that I have is Carl Urban, and I love this. Carl Urban he's pretty sure that Star Trek 4 is going to happen. He's pretty sure. He hasn't gotten a phone call from anybody yet, but he's confident.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think they need to like let that rest for a little while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you might remember that like not too long ago, Chris Hemsworth was talking about that he was approached to be in Star Trek 4, and that it kind of,
to spin off another new franchise.
Well, no, it kind of hints at like an alternate timeline type thing. So another alternate timeline that they're already at alternate timeline of the original. So it's kind of like, I found that to be extremely interesting. However, you know, it's kind of weird that Carl, I mean, obviously this is something that was asked to him in an interview at, you know, when is Trek 4 coming? And he's like, I'm pretty sure it's happening. And I'm pretty sure that it is going to happen at some point. What I'm more interested in is like, you know, who's going to direct it? You know, I mean, we now know that JJ is obviously busy. Maybe they wait until JJ's done with Star Wars and they ask him to do the fourth one, because we know he missed out on the third one and there was people who were not happy with the way the third one turned out. I enjoyed the third one far better than the second one, at least.
I don't know what to make of this. I'm not a huge Trekkie. I mean,
neither am I, but I'm a huge fan of this franchise of it. Like,
right.
I liked 2009 Star Trek. Like, I liked J.J. Abrams' first Star Trek film. I didn't like Into Darkness. It didn't jive well with me. I thought the pacing was way off on it. And obviously, it felt
like the sequel that you were fearing would happen.
Exactly. I didn't want them to do Khan because Wrath of Khan was already the best Star Trek film that had been made, and I didn't want them to immediately dive into that well and pull that out. And then they made it so obvious that Benedict Cumberbatch was Khan that they had to lie about it and say, no, he's not Khan. All right, he's Khan. All right, he's Khan. And it's weird, but like, it's weird that something that happened outside the film affected the way you watched it, but it did a little bit because people felt tricked and felt lied to. But not only that, for me, it was a straight pacing issue with the film. It wound up running like 2.5 hours long. And at no point did I feel like I got the same level of action and fun that I had in the first one. And then the third one, I felt they brought all that back. It just still didn't get to the level that 2009 was.
Right.
So, would I be excited for a 4? Yeah. Am I going to go to the theaters to see 4? Yeah. I'm just more curious about, you know, who's going to direct it.
I think they need a few years off.
Yeah, well, already it's been 2, so.
No, but more.
More?
I need more.
But you run the risk if you go over 5, then you're kind of rebooting at that point. And you also run the risk. I don't think
that's an issue. I think that's
Chris
fine.
Pine getting too old. You don't want Chris Pine to be too old.
No, he's a stud regardless. He's going to age really gracefully.
Just bring him with that.
I saw the trailer for A Wrinkle in Time. He looks pretty good with a little graying beard, you know? I mean, he's a stud.
But you'd certainly buy him as a scientist, right?
Yeah.
I don't. I don't know what it is about him. I
don't buy that movie regardless, and apparently it's not that great. But,
I didn't.
Yeah.
One of the films that came out this week that's coming out this week that I really wanted to see is getting bad reviews. Tomb Raider.
Oh, I know, really bad.
Really bad reviews.
I was never on board with that trailer.
I know you weren't, but I was hopeful because I really, really liked the Tomb Raider games. Really liked them, man. I really did. But honestly, when I saw
this is such an old school studio fuck up.
Right around trailer 2 and then trailer 3, I was like, oh man, they are really gonna not do do that story justice at all. And it's pretty clear that they didn't.
No.
Plus, I was also really excited to get like a strong female character in an action role like that.
Right. I root for Alicia Vikander. I mean, I think she's a beautiful girl, really talented, and you know, this is a big deal for her. It's a big role. It's just unfortunate. I mean, who knows? I mean, there's so many hands in that kind of well. But there's so much you could have done with that. You know,
that's what I'm saying,
like,
man.
It's such a great franchise, and for them to do it, like, I'll never forgive them for banking on that last shot, like her jumping and leaping and having like a sex groan, like.
That's the game. I mean, that's when she.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, not quite
just
to that
to leap
level.
off of like a log onto like safety. Like, that was like, really, that's the last cliffhanger thing.
Isn't that scream and groan? Isn't that the reason you watch tennis?
No, actually, it's really not. I don't find tennis very sexual at all. Well, if you have it in the background, maybe.
I could see you like.
But as you watch the tennis, it's like, nah.
I could see you rhythmically having sex to female grunts in tennis.
Yes, I'll do that.
And there's Jay like,
as I thrust the pillows.
Because that's all you're getting.
That's all I'm getting nowadays. Yeah.
All right. So here's another news story that's like a will they, won't they? Maybe here it comes. Who knows? But I chose this news story because I fucking love Jeffrey Dean Morgan. So Jeffrey Dean Morgan, no one has approached him to do it. It's not even a thing. No one knows what the script of Flashpoint is, if they're ever even going to do Flashpoint, because everything in DCEU, just fuck it. It's, I swear to God, they take a deck of cards with like 52 ideas, they throw them up in the air, and then whichever ones they catch, they announce and say, this is happening, maybe. But Jeffrey Dean Morgan would be really excited to play Thomas Wayne in Flashpoint, which is very exciting for me for two reasons.
Very plausible, too.
One, I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I thought his performance as a comedian was one of the best parts of The Watchmen. Fell in love with him because of that. My wife loves Supernatural. Fell in love with him because of Supernatural as well. He's currently playing Negan on The Walking Dead, which to this point is really the only redeeming part of that show, is just him being Negan. He's literally the only reason I keep watching it, because the show has gone far down fucking hill and sucks so bad. But every time he's on as Negan, I get a little smile. So I like that. And hearing this, it would be him playing one of my favorite like alternate versions of Batman that have ever happened. So in Flashpoint in the comics, Bruce Wayne is killed, and his mother and father both kind of lose their mind a little bit. Dad, Thomas Wayne, becomes Batman, and mother becomes Joker. Yeah, it was really interesting. It's a 3-part short story that happened as one of the side stories for Flashpoint. And Thomas Wayne's Batman is a far more brutal Batman. He's a Batman who kills. He's a Batman who carries guns, because he's an older Batman. Right. So he doesn't have the moves that
and he has nothing left.
Right.
So he doesn't give a fuck.
Exactly. He's
I really like that,
reckless.
actually. That sounds interesting.
And then I was thinking of like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, like,
he'd be perfect for that.
There it is.
Right.
And I'm just like, I feel like there's these things that are like,
he needs his own separate franchise. No, not Flashpoint.
There are these things that like are really exciting that DCEU could do, and they balk on it every time. I feel like they're just
this is their chance.
They're not willing to take a risk
with Deadpool and Logan. You can go wild, batshit, crazy, hard R.
But here's the thing:
if you keep it in like a $60 million budget, which you can, with that,
they're so afraid to show Batman in any other light than the Bruce Wayne Batman.
Fuck that.
They don't want to muddy those waters in their minds. They don't want to muddy those waters, because Batman's a franchise. Bruce Wayne's part of that franchise. He's
one of the darkest superheroes we have.
Even Flashpoint had like the Batman has a different symbol. He kind of has like a red circle around it, and then the bat like inside the red circle and stuff like that. So like, when you sell Batman material, you want it to be uniform, right? Like, I mean, and that's what I feel like it comes down to for DCEU is like, when we're marketing this, how do we sell toys? Like, how do we really ramp up this franchise?
Realistically, yes, it does play a part.
Yeah. But I also don't feel like throwing Thomas Wayne in there. They don't want to scare away that general audience goer who, in their mind, they know only a few things about Batman. He kicks ass, the outfit, and he's Bruce Wayne. Like that's what general audience knows about Batman.
Sure.
But I feel like we've had comic book movies for so long and so many Batman films. The general audience is far more in the know now. And yeah, Flashpoint might be a little bit of a curveball for them, but if you did the story correctly and you told the story through the eyes of someone and they know it's an Elseworlds, it's a different world. I think enough people know that Thomas Wayne is the father of
There's
Batman,
a lot of interesting things that you can do with it as long as you write it well. As long as you have a strong script that's not too bonkers.
I don't know. It's clear that writing has been their big problem.
I know. And
constant rewrites, reshoots, all this stuff.
This is the trickiest script that they could potentially write, right? Because
100%. It involves a lot of DC characters and
comedy elements, and there's so many variables in play,
and time travel and alternate universes and like all this stuff.
But at the same time, you have the potential for amazing.
But at the same time, I feel like it's right, because here's the thing: at the end of Flashpoint, when Flash finally runs through time again. So what happens in Flashpoint, and I'm going to spoil the comic book story because I don't give a fuck. What happens in Flashpoint is
spoiler.
Flash runs back in time and stops his mother from being killed. When he comes forward through time,
common knowledge,
and time's regular, the whole world's changed. Everything's different. The Amazonians are at war with the Atlanteans. The entire world is practically destroyed. Humans are all that's left, and Thomas Wayne refuses to join the fight. So Flash gets Thomas Wayne to join the fight with the rest of the humans and try to end the war between the Atlanteans. All while this is going on, he's also being taunted by Reverse Flash the whole time, all this stuff. And what finally happens is he runs forward and through time and allows his mother to die, and the alternate timeline is gone and a new timeline begins, one that is extremely close to the timeline that Flash left, but things are just slightly different, but it's good enough. And he'll go with it. And one of the beautiful parts in it, and one of the things that always makes me cry while reading it, cry while watching the Flashpoint Paradox cartoon, is Thomas Wayne knows full well that when Flash goes back in time, he will cease to exist, and even then, he'll never get to speak to his son again, because either his son dies or he dies in these two timelines. Either way, he'll never get to talk to his son. So he writes a letter and gives it to Barry Allen, and Barry Allen gives it to Bruce Wayne when the time is righted. And here's the nice part about if they did it. It's a nice way for you to say everything that came before Flashpoint didn't happen. All of our bad reviews, all the things you hated, it didn't happen. We just rebooted our universe within our own universe. They could Star Trek that motherfucker.
That's ballsy as shit. But again, very plausible.
And should happen. In my mind, it should.
Because why the fuck not?
Now Suicide Squad's gone.
Because why not? You finally get rid of Zack Snyder's stink all over the franchise. I'm sorry, but for me, it's
and you get rid of Jai Courtney.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. And then you also can release Ben Affleck because it's
everybody. Because it's bloated salaries. Right. Everybody.
Because it's plausible now that Batman might look a little different, you know? You could start the film with Ben Affleck. It'd be amazing. You could start the film with Ben Affleck, have Jeffrey Dean Morgan play Thomas Wayne, and at the end, you bring in Jake Jill.
Jakey Jill.
You bring in Jake Gyllenhaal. And you're just like, yeah, would that be jarring in the same movie? It might be. It might be. No, it definitely would be. But what I'm saying is you could definitely restart your universe.
I still feel so bad for Ben Affleck, though. Oh, God. He's just had... he had a great... He has one of the most yo-yoed careers in Hollywood, right? Like extreme high to extreme low to back to greatness again.
Do you think he looks in the mirror?
Back to low again.
Do you think he looks in the mirror and goes, I'm Batman? And then I'm Batman. And then looks at himself and goes, no, you're not. You're a fraud. Like, you're a fraud. You're not Batman. Starts knocking shit over.
That's what made him drink.
That's what bloated him up.
Oh.
Anyway, so that's a long time for a very small story, but I think Flashpoint's a good idea. I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne is a good idea, and I think Flashpoint is honestly it seems to be the thing that DCEU is going to shy away from. They're gonna pull their punches with that. They're gonna wait on that for a while, but
they did reshuffle the studio, so who knows what's going to happen.
But I really think it's how you write your ship. It's the one storyline that sits in the DC Comics universe that can really write your ship. It's either that or
it's your only chance. It's really your only chance. So why not give it a try?
It's either that or Infinite Crisis, which honestly, if you do Infinite Crisis, you're going back too far.
And nobody knows. I don't know what the fuck that is. So
it's basically the same thing. They kill off all the Elseworlds and stuff and kind of restart the universe. Still not worth it. I think Flashpoint's the way you go. All right, Jay. We got another DCEU one. We're just going to keep rolling with this. Kristen Wiig is going to be playing Cheetah.
Boo.
Which you think this is bad?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so... Because she's a comedian, she automatically... So, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, Kristen Wiig gets like a 6.5, 7, right? In looks. But... No, well, when you make her funny, she automatically becomes a 9.5 to me because I absolutely love Kristen Wiig. Like, I think she's hilarious.
I like her. I respect her. I don't see her playing a big studio franchise villain.
But here, so I mean, I'm disagree with you. So why? I mean, you've seen her do comedy. You've seen her do comedy well. You've seen her do drama really well.
Maybe it's because I've never seen do anything like this.
Fuck you. Jim Carrey played the Riddler, motherfucker. and knocked it out of the park.
There's only one person who played a Riddler, and that's Jim Carrey.
No, Jim Carrey played Jim Carrey as the Riddler. That was obviously in jest.
I'm not exactly sure why I'm so disheartened from this news. I don't know. I really can't explain it. It's I have this weird feeling that I'm just not happy or excited by it. Really.
I actually enjoy it. I like Kristen.
A lot of people are, and I really hope so. I think they had plenty of time to choose, and it just worked out that way. I mean, she is very talented, and I think I've heard an interview with her, which she doesn't do very often. I think, as far as like really just raw her.
One of the few things I can think of that's like raw her is comedians in cars getting coffee with Jerry
she's
Seinfeld.
Very,
she's out there.
She's very out there, but still at the same time very
45-year-old hipster. Like she's a 45-year-old hipster.
She's very like self-aware.
Yep.
And very insecure, which I really appreciate because I liked it. And I think that delivers better art for some actors.
No, she's extremely human and she's extremely relatable.
So that does give me some sense of hope. And I think that also the director, Patty Jenkins, has a good rapport with her and probably has a good idea for what she can do. Now, hopefully it turns out well. I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things where
I think it will. Because we've seen her do comedy extremely well. We've seen her do drama.
I'm just nervous.
Well.
Maybe it's just my nerves.
And I think Cheetah as a character is almost like a tragic character. There's a lot of like.
It's supposed to be one of the best villains.
It is Wonder Woman's like number one villain.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it. I really do. I think it's good casting for it. Because I sit here and think right now, like, who would you want to play Cheetah? Because you don't want someone who is as stunning, and it's no offense to Kristen Wiig, but you don't want someone who's as stunning as Gal Gadot, right? Like, you don't want to take away from Gal Gadot at all because she's Wonder Woman.
No, I mean,
she's the star.
Charlize Theron has done enough, villain roles.
No, but I wouldn't want her. I wouldn't want Charlize Theron.
No. I'm just saying, but no, I mean, it's whatever. We'll see.
Here's the thing.
We'll
I've
see.
seen
It's
Charlize
fine.
Theron play enough badass women that I'm willing to give Kristen Wiig the shot to play a badass woman. Give her the shot. Here's the thing. What's the worst that DCEU could do? It's not the worst they could do. That's for sure.
I don't know, but obviously, I'm sure Patty Jenkins has a lot of pull, and she's very well respected.
Dude,
she's very talented. She knows what she's doing. So
I am sure that with this announcement, there was a laundry list of offers and auditions that happened, and Kristen Wiig came out ahead.
Oh yeah,
and that's
And
after the first Wonder Woman, I do trust Patty Jenkins enough to understand whatever Kristen Wiig brought to the table.
But I just had to be, it's one of those things where I had very mixed reaction to, and I'm sorry, I just had to voice it, but I'm optimistic.
All right, here we go. We're coming down to the end. So you are aware that Sony might be making another Spawn film. And one of the things, this Spawn film is real crazy because it won't exactly be a Spawn film. Spawn will be in the film, but it won't directly be about Spawn. It'll more or less be about Sam and Twitch, the two detectives who investigate a lot of the crimes surrounding Spawn. But Spawn would still be a character in it, but not the main character. Al Simmons would not be the main character of it. And this is the way that Todd McFarlane has kind of like explained it. And he's the guy who created Spawn. He's obviously would be a producer on it. He kind of described it as like, Spawn is kind of like this tangential character that these other characters are more or less reacting to. And what I find interesting is that now the director may not have been announced, but they certainly have made it known who they are looking at to do the directing. They want Spike Lee to direct it.
I'm intrigued by that. I like Spike Lee. I do. For the most part, I enjoy most of his movies.
Do the Right Thing. Do the Right Thing is one of my favorite films of all time.
I think I'm really excited to see what he can do with a franchise or with a property like this.
But here's the thing: Do the Right Thing was 30 years ago. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, he still has done some interesting things before, and after as well. And,
he absolutely has. I mean, one of the things I find like really interesting, like he directed like NBA 2K16, right? Like he's a guy that like he's not just satisfied with film. Like he really goes at like he's done documentaries. Obviously, you know,
he does a lot of different things.
He directed Old Boy, the remake of Old Boy, which I thought was terrible. He did direct that.
Forgot he did that.
Yeah.
The Inside Job I really liked with
Michael
Jackson.
This Is It. That's the musical.
Oh, yes.
That's the musical documentary that he did. But I mean, like, he really hasn't done like a feature film other than Old Boy since Miracle at St. Anna in 2008, which if you remember Miracle at St. Anna, that was the film that followed a platoon of black soldiers living in southern Italy during World War II.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a good film. Like I thought that was a really, really well done film.
I mean, he
didn't get a lot of love, but like
he does.
Neither did 25th Hour, which is another film he's done that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, he flies under the radar. I mean, he probably has his hands in a lot of different kind of pockets and little different kind of things and venues.
He's definitely a guy who looks to be prolific.
But he's also old. Like he's getting up there in age. So he's also probably being a little bit more lackadaisical, perhaps, for what he's going to do.
No, I mean, it's funny because he's a big comic book fan, and I've heard him talk about Spawn and how Spawn kind of like revolutionized comics in the early 90s and about how it made it creator owned, and it's something that speaks to him is owning your own thing and being creative. So he definitely has a love for, if not the character, for what Spawn means to the medium. Because I feel the same way. I'm not a huge fan of Spawn as a comic, really, but I'm really a fan of what it started. I'm really a fan of Image Comics and like how that all came about. Right. You know, with kind of like a big fuck you to the big two of DC and Marvel and starting your own thing and everything that comes out of it. It's all creator owned. That's great. You know, I love that. Like if you're a writer for Image and you leave Image and you created characters, they go with you when you leave. So that's pretty amazing. I mean, obviously Image takes a cut of it, you know, because they're publishing your book, but I really respect that about them is that like, if I created a character for Image and Image ran like a 12 issue miniseries and next time I want to get published through Top Cow or through Icon or Marvel, my character can come with me and I can. And that's really cool. And I think that's something that Spike Lee was really drawn to about Spawn. Also, it's been a while since he's made since he's made a major motion picture. So it's very strange, but you can't get much worse than the 1997 Spawn or 1996. Remember that you can't get. Now, granted, I have a love for that film because of a nostalgia factor, but I can admit that is not a good film. That is not a great film in any way, shape, or form. It's pretty piss poor. John Leguizamo maybe gives the performance that's a tour de force for sure, though, as the Violator.
Make it end. Yeah, but I'm open to Spike doing whatever the hell he wants with it. I mean, kudos to him.
And it'd
be really interesting to see what he does with it.
It's been 20 years since the original Spawn film. It's okay to do something else with it now. I mean, I think you've had enough time. I mean, the best thing that ever came out of Spawn outside of some of the Spawn storylines is the HBO animated series, which if you haven't watched that, it's fucking awesome. It's an awesome adaptation. And, if you have HBO Go, it is on there for you to watch. It's only like 2 seasons. It's only like 20 some episodes, but it's definitely enjoyable. And cool. I really like it. So I would like to see what Spike Lee can bring to that. All right, Jay, finally, the biggest news of all. We know that Benioff and Weiss, the creators behind Game of Thrones TV series, have been tasked now to do a Star Wars television series. But now they're expanding the Star Wars television space even further. But now Jon Favreau has been tasked to also create a Star Wars television series. Isn't that interesting?
It makes sense.
The dude is literally going to bounce right off of Lion King, and he is going to go right into producing and being the showrunner, from what it sounds like, for a Star Wars television series.
Obviously, for the new streaming.
They're not saying where any of these will air, but I think it's pretty obvious that
it'll probably be either exclusive for the streaming service or a hybrid.
So this is actually what I want to talk about in this, because we could sit here and speculate all day what Jon Favreau is really going to be doing with his Star Wars series, but in the end, who cares? Here's what they're doing with Star Wars on that Disney streaming service. The same thing that Netflix has been doing with the Marvel series. They're going to be staggering them. One is going to end, and then a couple weeks, months later, the next one will start. And we will get to binge watch Star Wars television series. And it doesn't just stop there with the Benioff and Weiss one and the Jon Favreau one, because they're also going to be doing another animated series. Star Wars Rebels just ended last week. And I watched the series finale. And Dave Filoni, the showrunner on that, has already said they are in pre-production for the next one. Where the story's going, they're not sure who main characters are, but they're in very early pre-production for it. And they have time to work on it, obviously, because eventually that series will probably be streaming on the Disney streaming service as well, which starts in 2019.
Look, I mean, it's kind of insane. I mean, Disney is literally taking over fucking Hollywood, and it's going to be even bigger when the streaming service comes into play, because there's so many things that they can be doing with it.
But is it too much Star Wars?
It is. For me, it's too much Star Wars.
If I get a movie every year, but I also get 3 TV series every year?
Way too much. For me. I can't get into that.
I think you have to do it right. I think you have to.
So far, so good. I mean, they got the right guys in the play.
But by getting it right, what I mean is you have to tell stories that are about people in the Star Wars universe, not tell a Star Wars story. You know what I mean? You have to tell a human story that takes place in the Star Wars universe, and allow the movies to be those big, grandiose things that they are. But when you bring it to the small screen, bring smaller stories, you know? I'm not saying follow a moisture farmer through his winter harvest. but
oh man.
But small stories that can be interesting from a character's point of view in the Star Wars universe, and you have a formula that can still allow Star Wars to be fresh and exciting every time you go to see it, because it's different every time.
Yeah. I'm just not exactly sure what angle they're going to go with. Are they going to stick with the straight up Marvel formula?
No, I don't know,
or are they going to do something a little bit more different?
But what I'm saying is 2 different Star Wars TV shows. I mean, and a streaming service coming. That's obviously the avenue they're going, where they kind of want
all the money goes right to them, and nothing with the theaters.
So right after December, when you have a series that ends like in September or October, then you only have 2 months until December, and then you watch the Star Wars film. Then you take another 2 months off, and then you have another Star Wars series.
Genius. It really is genius.
You're constantly filling people's Star Wars hole, and people are liking it. I mean, that's what it seems like they're doing. I really like that. Like, honestly, as a Star Wars fan, as long as it's all original and it's told in the way that is where I don't feel oversaturated. Like, I don't want lightsabers in all these things. I want smaller stories that take place in the Star Wars universe. I want to see a spy story. I want to see
I'm going to take it as it comes.
I'm going to see a criminal
feel
story.
It out.
Yeah.
I'm going to see what it looks like, see if I'm getting the vibe right, and I'll give it a go. But it's not something that I'm sure there's going to be a lot of them that I'm not going to get into at all. I mean, it is what it is.
Certainly the animated one. I know. No. I would love to. There are episodes of Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels that I would love to sit down and like show you, because I think you would enjoy them. But at the same time, like, it's like, fuck, do I enjoy these because they're so steeped in Star Wars lore that I would have to sit there and explain a lot to Jay from the watch? Like,
you would, because I'm not that kind of guy. Like, I don't know like the lore.
There's this entire
the deep nuance.
I think if I showed you anything from Star Wars animated, I would have to sit down and I would have to show you, first off, the Genndy Tartakovsky series. Oh my God, movie homework. You're getting a Star Wars cartoon.
I'm putting in my resignation.
Nope. No veto cards allowed in movie homework, motherfucker. But anyway, I'm excited by the prospect of Star Wars expanding to the small screen. I'm just cautious that I'm going to have Star Wars overload, which is something I was worried about when Disney took over to begin with.
A little concerned, but I think it makes sense. You're announcing it. It's the right guy for what they're going to do with, and it's going to take a little time. You know, they're not going to be shooting this year.
No.
They'll be developing,
This is all
and they'll be shooting in next winter, probably.
This is all 2020 stuff.
Yeah.
This is all 2020.
So it's going to be in time. Yeah. But they're setting themselves up for the whole streaming service.
Here's what I wonder, right? Disney's doing the streaming service and stuff like that. Obviously, they're going to have television shows and stuff like that, streaming their own movies that come out. Do you think they make original movie content for it as well? And do they take Star Wars and Marvel onto that small screen and do original movies that are only for the streaming service, like Netflix does with original content?
Oh boy.
Do they do that? Do they divide their market in that way?
They will be. I just don't know when.
Right.
Eventually they will.
Like, do you tell?
I just don't know when.
Do you eventually have these Star Wars stories instead of on the big screen? You tell smaller ones on the small screen?
Oh, I hope not.
The Bib Fortuna, a Star Wars story coming to Disney streaming service.
But like big
what
stuff.
Did Salacious Crumb do before he got to Jabba's palace?
Well, big stuff like that. You know what they're gonna do? They're gonna have it in theaters, and they're gonna do it like Annihilation. You know, they're gonna have it out, and then like a month later, they'll put it on the stream.
I don't think they would. I don't think they would divide their market quite like that. Annihilation was a different beast than this.
Well, that was just franchise. Like a trial thing, but we'll see. But either way, Jay, those movies need to be on the big screen, Dave.
Save all Annihilation talk for next week, because we're going to have Paul from the Countdown Pod on.
Special show.
He is going to, our main segment next week will be us reviewing and discussing probably far too in-depth.
Far too.
Annihilation, because me and Jay have two differing opinions, and then we're going to bring a third opinion in and find out what Paul thought of it as well. It's going to be a great time. I love Paul. I can't wait to talk to Paul about Annihilation. So that'll be next week. If you enjoyed me and Jay kind of talking about Star Wars and stuff like that, you're in luck. I have a Star Wars podcast that is out right now. It is a 6-episode run that is on the Podfix Presents channel. So search Podfix Presents on iTunes or on Podbean, and you will find A Certain Point of View, which is a Star Wars show that I'm doing with other Podfix hosts, and having a lot of fun doing it. We get to talk about Star Wars, go in depth in Star Wars, and have a lot of fun with Star Wars as well. Because if you can't laugh at the thing you love, then you don't love it enough. That's why I make fun of Jay so much, because I love him so much. Giving you the hard feels there. So make sure that you're checking out a
teardrop coming down my face.
Make sure that you're checking out A Certain Point of View, and make sure you can also find me in another Star Wars capacity on a Podfix Presents show that should be coming pretty soon. It's called Loot Quest, where it is us playing the Wizards of the Coast Star Wars RPG tabletop game. For everybody. It's a lot of fun. You have no idea how much fun we have with it.
Cool.
I've never played a D&D type game. I've never played a tabletop role-playing game. But playing with other Podfix hosts, I had a ton of fun. And getting drunk helped. Like, drinking while doing it
sure.
was a huge
definitely.
Because I know nothing about tabletop games, and they were very sweet to me. They guided me through it. like
they lubed you up.
Yeah, like my first time having sex, you know, with an experienced woman. She just guided it in there.
Yeah. Thanks, baby.
Make sure you're following us up on Twitter, because we should be announcing the next film that we're going to have for Movie Cocktail next month. Right now, the category that's up is Lost in Space. So the announcement will be between 2001: A Space Odyssey, Moon, The Martian, or Event Horizon. So we will have an announcement for which one wins coming up very soon. And make sure that you're checking out the Untapped app. That is UNTPPD, and that app is available on iOS.
Tons of new reviews up there.
So while me and Lauren were on vacation, I made sure that I did 12 beer reviews to put up there. I had a bunch of beers in Disney at the Wine and Food Festival. Also had a couple beers at a brewery that was in Bakersfield that I really enjoyed. Lengthwise Brewing Company that was out of Bakersfield, California. So make sure that you check out all my reviews for that Jay has been posting to the Untapped app. And obviously, thank you everybody for listening. I hope you didn't mind this kind of like free-formed jazz episode where me and Jay didn't really do segment breaks. We just
let us know what you think of it.
Yeah, this is very stream of conscious because we just had to get an episode out.
Yeah, pressed on time a little bit, and it was a nice little change up for us.
Thanks a lot for listening. Have a great night. Cheers.
Cheers.